Hello everyone, I'm NS, and today I'm going to be starting something new for my channel. Unfortunately, due to work, among other things, I've been unable to work on my Zelda videos at the rate I would like to, and it has now been over 2 months since I released my video on Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. At this point, I'm only halfway through A Link to the Past, so in order to keep this channel active, I want to put out more videos. As such, I'll be starting this new series of videos on my channel which will be playing through as much of a game as I can in a single session, and then giving my thoughts on it. For now, I'll call it a quick thought on, but that's subject to change. Anyways, the first game I'll be doing a quick thought on is actually a game I've not only played before, but also beaten. Though saying that, every time I beat in the past was while playing on the 3DS Virtual Console using save states. And with how I'm playing this time, that won't even be an option. Yep, today I'll be looking at Mario's first outing on the Game Boy. Because there ain't no place like Super Mario Land. So, upon starting the game, the first thing to notice is the pyramids in the background. We are clearly not playing in the Mushroom Kingdom anymore. In fact, this game takes place in Sarasa Land, and one of the most notable things about Sarasa Land is that it has 4 kingdoms in it, all of which are based on real-world locations. Well, most of them are, but I'll get into that later. The first kingdom we have is the Robuto Kingdom, and if it wasn't obvious enough that this is based on Egypt, they're going to hit us hard with that fact later on. World 1-1 itself is fairly simple, like any 1-1 Mario game should be, giving you a feel for the mechanics. In fact, in World 1-1 there is only a single enemy unique to this game, and that's the Fly. An enemy who will bounce towards you. Nothing too special. Actually, I need to backtrack a little. I said that there was only one new enemy from this game in this world, but that's not entirely true. The Goombas and Koopas aren't actually Goombas and Koopas. These little guys are actually called Goombos, though I honestly don't understand the name change. Other than the fact that they are smaller, they act exactly like Goombas as far as I can tell. The Bombshell Koopas, on the other hand, are actually unique from their Mushroom Kingdom counterparts. If you jump on them, they drop a bomb that can actually hurt you when they die. Though saying that, unless they are on a tight platform and it's hard to jump out of the way, it's almost a non-issue. Anyways, because we are just starting out, I want to talk a little about the mechanics in this game that's different from other games. To start off, Mario feels a bit floatier to me than he normally does, but saying that, I was used to it by the end of 1-1 for the most part. A big change though is the fire flowers, or to be more precise, the Super Ball flower. Yeah, Mario doesn't throw fireballs in this game, but instead he throws Super Balls, which bounce across the screen and do not stop moving in the direction they're going until it hits a wall. It can actually be very useful to pick up coins as well. Also, the 1-ups are hearts. Doesn't change how they work, but it would have been impossible to do it any other way due to the Game Boy only having 4 colors on it. Oh, and how can I forget about the invincibility star? I mean, don't get me wrong, it works exactly as you think it would, but it's the fact that it plays the can music. I mean, take a listen. Yeah, it's the can music. I cannot believe it. Wait, do puns work well if used twice in a row? Whatever. With most of the mechanics out of the way though, there's just one more thing I should mention. At the end of every -1 and -2 stages, there are 2 doors. The one on the bottom brings you straight to the next stage. Saying that though, there is normally a small platforming challenge to get to the upper door, and if you do manage to get to that door, you go to a bonus game room where you get the chance to play for a 1-up, a 2-up, a 3-up, or a Super Ball flower. The only catch here is that even if you have the Super Ball power-up, the Super Ball flower is still there. So if you get it, you essentially lose out on lives. But on the flip side, if you're Small Mario, you can get the power-up straight away without needing to get a mushroom first. Moving on to World 1-2, we get into a type of level that I absolutely hate. I don't know if there is a term for these levels, but I like to think of them as groundless levels. I'm kind of prone to stupid mistakes, which is why I hate these type of levels. Basically, there are a lot of platforms at different elevations, and no floor down the bottom to catch you if you fall. It won't be the only time we're seeing this type of level either. Anyways, World 1-2 introduces the Bun Buns, which are flying bees which will shoot down their stingers at you. And when you kill them, you practically skin them alive, leaving only their skeleton. Honestly, that's really all I have to say about 1-2. Moving on to 1-3, we actually start the level by getting a new tune, which really fits the underground area here well. And if the background of the first two levels in World 1 didn't say you were in Egypt, well, the hieroglyphics here in the background of 1-3 yells it to your face. Well, that and the new enemy we find in here, the Gao, which is basically a mini Sphinx enemy that can shoot fireballs at you. Beyond that, we also find that this game also have bosses, as we meet up with King Totomesu, who basically fights like Bowser from the NES games. Here you have two options to beat King Totomesu. The first would be using Super Balls in order to defeat him. Unfortunately, I didn't come with the Super Ball power-up, because I got hit earlier. So, I have to do the second option. I jump over him, hit the switch, and yeah, basically like hitting the axe on the Super Mario stages. And with that, I found Daisy and completed the game. Oh, Daisy! What happened? She transformed into a fly. So our quest isn't over yet. Anyways, after you defeat a boss, you go to the bonus game room. No skill challenge required. And this brings us to World 2, otherwise known as the Muda Kingdom, which is based on... Well, actually, I'm not really sure where this is based on, or at least I wasn't. I had to look this up. Apparently it's based on two things. It's based on Bermuda and the lost continent of Mu. Well, I can only see based on Bermuda due to 2-3, as well as the fact that there is water everywhere. I had no idea there was a lost continent of Mu. Though looking it up, it's basically like Atlantis. But let's talk about the level itself. For some unknown reason, you start off under a UFO. No explanation. There was no UFO at the end of the last stage, you just start off under one here. But it isn't that important. Stage 2-1 is similar to Stage 1-2, where there's no base ground. So if you fall off from a higher platform, there's almost no saving yourself. Though this time, instead of being high in the air, you're right above a river of blood. Okay, it's actually just a river or an ocean or something like that. But based on the shade of gray it does, as well as the color set the Game Boy player puts it on, it looks red. But anyways, this stage has some new enemies. To start off, we have these Honen, which are just fish bones. I thought you were not allowed to touch them, and actually got scared when one jumped up from underneath me. Luckily though, that wasn't the case, and I actually killed it by accident. Up next we have a Yaren Boo. Okay, seeing as there's already a Mario enemy class called Boo, or wait, was there when this was released? I think I might be injecting modern Mario into this game, because looking into it, at this point in time, there was only one type of Boo. So maybe it was just an enemy and not a classification. But whatever. It's a seahorse that jumps out of the water and shoots fireballs at you. With that out of the way, it's time we move on to World 2-2, which also starts you out under a UFO. Whatever. Right into the level, we find a new enemy called a Mikanbon. And I love these enemies. Basically, what they do is they throw their head at you, kind of as if it was a boomerang. And you can attack the head alone, leaving the body by itself, though I don't think I actually got to record that. But now we should move on to World 2-3, which is actually a very unique level. It is entirely underwater, which you would think would actually be a bad thing looking at water levels in other Mario games, but this is different. You aren't swimming, instead though, you are in a submarine called the Marine Pop, and you have direct control of movement in terms of up, down, left, and right, and are able to shoot torpedoes at enemies. In this level, there is also a bunch of downed UFO, and while it's quite a stretch, it's the only thing I can think of that connects this place to Bermuda, or more specifically the Bermuda Triangle. But man, the music here is just so upbeat, so take a listen real quick. But anyways, because this level is set up so differently, the enemies here work differently as well. To start off, we have the Torion, which are basically fish. They're easy enough to kill or dodge. Just be careful, because they will come back to you after hitting the left-hand side of the screen. What is slightly more of a threat, mainly because it moved up and down, and is a little bigger, is the Urarin, which is the exact same enemy as the Urarin Boo, except it doesn't shoot fireballs at you. Next up we have the Gunnian, which are octopuses that shoot 2 fireballs out upon their death. Finally, we get to the boss of the level, the Dragon Zamasu, which is a giant Urarin Boo. He's easy enough to take down, just keep firing torpedoes at him while avoiding his attacks, and he'll go down pretty fast. Then prepare for the Daisy fake out again, as she turns into a Gunnian and jumps away. Up next, we move to the Eastern Kingdom. Throughout the stage, you'll see countless Moai statues, which clearly makes this kingdom based off of Easter Island. Hell, even if you somehow didn't notice the Moai statues in the background, the first enemy is a Moai head called a Batodon. It's basically like the fly from the Robuto Kingdom. On top of him, there's also another Moai statue head enemy later on in the level called a Toku. This one has arms and runs fast towards you. I think it might be the fastest enemy in the game yet, with a possible exception of some of the enemies in the underwater world of 2-3, and maybe the Bullet Biffs in this level. Oh yeah, that reminds me, we have another returning but changed enemy. Instead of Bullet Bills, in this game we have Bullet Biffs. So, what exactly is the difference between them? Well, actually, the Bullet Biffs are actually kind of awesome. They're rocket-propelled bullets. I mean, it doesn't change anything about how they act, but they just look really cool. We also have another new enemy in World 3-1... Wait, what? No, that can't be right. Well, I looked it up and they are in fact named. Let me introduce you to the Ganchan. Yeah, these rolling rocks are actually named enemies. Despite that, they are actually more helpful than harmful. You can jump on top of them and they can bring you over dangerous obstacles like spike pits, for example. But at the same time, you also need to be careful about them because they will crush you. They really do a nice little dynamic to the platforming in the game, though. I kind of wish they appeared more. On top of everything, though, I would say that the level design got a lot better in this level. Though I think that's partly thanks to the Ganchan. I love that rock. It's so cute. I mean, take a look at this official artwork. World 3-2 takes place underground, and I think that has a nice touch. They should have put bodies in the background to imply they were the bodies of the Moai heads we saw above, buried underneath the soil. It would have been cool, but unfortunately they didn't. I mean, I guess I can't really blame them. Apparently it wasn't common knowledge that the Moai statues even had bodies until 2012, which... Quick side tangent unrelated to the video, but how on earth did people not know that the Moai statues had bodies? Did nobody ever decide to dig up one for archaeological reasons? Okay, apparently people have known since 1914, but it wasn't common knowledge until 2012. So my point still stands. Tangent aside though, let's get back to World 3-2, where we get to meet 2 new enemies. The first is a Sue, which comes down from the cave ceiling like magic. Okay, it's actually supposed to be a spider thread, but there is nothing there. I mean, seriously, was a single line of pixels to represent the spider thread too much to ask for? Anyways, not important. They only really come down when you get near them, so they're actually easy enough to take on and don't really pose much of a threat. Later on, we actually find another spider enemy in here too, the Kumo. These spiders jump around and are often located around death pits, so they can actually be pretty dangerous to deal with. Now, for the level design itself, I don't really know how to describe it here. On one hand, I think the level design is good. Great enemy placement to make you think about how you want to handle the level, but also not placed in bad places where they just designed to screw you over. On top of that, Ganchan is here at the end of the level too. On the other hand, I started this level with 12 lives. I ended this level with 0 lives. Or lives remaining, I should say. I don't know what it was, but I was constantly dying during this level, and often around this one spot. Anyways, at this point, because the game is getting tougher, I'm not sure I'll actually be able to win. Even if I do get more lives, I can't guarantee I'll be able to hold on to them if this was the result of this level. But I'll try it anyways. Because we are finally on to World 3-3, and oh god, it is one of these type of levels. I'm probably doomed, but whatever, I take it in stride, and early on I actually managed to find a pipe coin room. Now I go into the pipe with 77 coins and 0 lives remaining. By the time I'm out, I have 7 coins and 2 lives remaining, meaning that there are over 100 coins in that pipe coin room. With this in mind, you can actually theoretically farm lives in that location before moving on. In fact, I actually thought about doing that myself, but by the time I actually thought of it, I had already gone too far away. Anyways, there's actually no new enemies in this world, boss excluded of course, so let's talk about the level design itself. Like I mentioned earlier, I hate these type of groundless levels, and coupled with the fact that I was coming into this level with no lives remaining, I was extremely cautious tackling it. And it actually changes from a groundless level near the end of it too. But right before it does, you have this masterpiece. So, I've actually never been able to get past this part without using save states on the 3DS Virtual Console before. And now, I am playing where that isn't even an option anymore. I don't know if it was because I didn't have save states to back me up, but not only was I able to get through my first time without failing, I was able to do it twice in a row, not dying there either time. Yeah, you heard me right. After getting through it, a Toku came out of nowhere and sort of killed me. And the respawn point was right before this little platforming challenge, so I had to do it twice. Anyways, with that out of the way, we finally get to the boss, Hiohoi, who, you guessed it, is another Moai head. This time he has arms and legs, and will toss Ganchan at you. I know you're supposed to jump on Ganchan and above the ledge to get the kill switch, but I just could not find a pattern that would let me do that. Instead, because I had a mushroom on me, I decided to tank the hit, go through him, and hit the kill switch. Anyways, with that out of the way, we finally get to the fake out Daisy again. This time, she turns into Kumo and bounces off. And finally we get to my favorite kingdom. At least in terms of the music. It's the Chai Kingdom, and needless to say, it's based off China. And real quick before we continue, let that music just sink in. Well, I think it's about time we start by talking about the enemies themselves. First off, we have this beautiful dancing girl, called a Pionpi. She hops around dancing and tries to hit you, and don't think you can kill her by jumping on her, because with the power of dance, she comes back to life. Wait, what? But that sprite is clearly a... Okay, fine. So, apparently, despite it clearly looking like a Chinese dancing girl, the Pionpi are actually zombie creatures that look like this, which actually explains why if you kill them by jumping on their heads, they come back to life. Yeah, no, they still look like Chinese dancing girls to me. But that's actually all for new enemies in this level. So what can I say about the level itself? I can say it got me a game over. Yeah, I wouldn't mind so much, except, well, yeah, it wasn't a Pionpi or some other enemy that killed me, or even some tricky platforming. Nope, I just didn't press the jump button in time. What did surprise me was that this wasn't where my story in Sarasa Land ended, because the game actually gives you a continue, and considering I don't play these games for points, I really didn't care about losing the points. But back into the level, I did notice something. Specifically, the Pionpi and the pipe cannons, which were firing out bullet biffs. Between the two enemies constantly appearing on screen at the same time, It brought about some interesting challenges on figuring out ways to avoid the Piampi without accidentally hitting a bullet Biff. Anyways, it was also this level where I learned a little secret about the music. Once your time dips below 100 seconds, the music actually speeds up. A nice little fun fact, but I think it's time we moved on to World 4-2. In terms of level design, it's not bad, but I think it's a little bit plain. Oh, wait. I think I used that joke a little too early. It's not a bad level at all, but I feel that there was a lot more that could have been done earlier on. In the first part of the level, the only thing that's really interesting is the new enemies. First one being the pom-pom flower, which is kind of like a walking piranha plant who, instead of shooting fireballs at you, shoots balls up in the air until they come back down. The next enemy is the Neololin, who are snakes that shoot fireballs at you. Honestly, they're hardly threatening at all, as long as you're not reckless. Moving on to the level itself, I would say the level has 3 parts. The first part has you going between platforms with 2 enemies I just mentioned before, along with some of the standard ones like the Bombshell Koopa. The platforms themselves are too wide for any real challenge, and the enemy placement here is fairly sparse, at least in my opinion. The next area is more interesting than good. We actually get a split path. If you're Super Mario, you can break the blocks up here and take the upper path. The upper path has a ton of blocks to break, mostly netting you some extra coins, as well as a Super Ball flower. The lower path looks like it's supposed to be hard, but is mostly full of static enemies, so I can't imagine it being too hard. Anyways, after that we get to the final part of the level. This part has circling fireballs, which move like fire bars in the other Mario games, except instead of a rod of fireballs, there is just a single one, and honestly, I would actually say that this is the only part of the level that I actually found challenging. Well, kind of. Because of how the fireballs were placed, I had to go through the level very cautiously. In fact, I would say it's probably the most precision platforming of the entire game. Do it perfect, or get hit by a fireball or an enemy. But anyways, I think it's time we move on to the last level, World 4-3. World 4-3 is the exact same as 2-3 was, except that this time it's in the air and we are flying in a plane called the Sky Pop. So since the mechanics are the same, I think we should move on to the enemies. We start with the fearsome and threatening chicken. Okay, maybe fearsome and threatening are not the right words, but this is the final level. It just doesn't seem right to throw a chicken out and call it a challenge. Well, I guess it really isn't a challenge. At least the next enemy does a little bit more. The Rokuton are planes that fire bullet Biffs backwards, so if you don't hit them while they're coming towards you, you'll have to deal with the Biffs afterwards. Okay, not overly challenging, but one of their bullet Biffs did manage to kill me once. Anyways, the last new enemy of the level, again, boss excluded, is the Fist of Fate. I mean the Genkotsu. Basically, they're fists that try to punch you from pipes, but as long as you're not rushing, there's no way it will hit you. Speaking of the level though, there isn't really much to talk about. It's mostly just open sky with a few blocks and a very small obstacle course at the end. But it's at that end where you meet the boss Cloudy. Okay, its real name is Byokinton, and he's not actually a cloud. Apparently he's just very shy, and doesn't want to be seen, so he hides behind the clouds. Because of this, apparently no one has ever seen his true form, and he throws chickens at you. Yeah, not too menacing. Whatever, he goes down easy enough, and from out of his ashes, or at least the land below, Tatenga rears his ugly head. He comes out in a giant spaceship of his own and shoots gigantic cannonballs at you, which divide into 3 smaller cannonballs. I would say he's not that hard, but the biggest catch is that the cannonballs absorb your own missiles, meaning that you have to aim carefully while avoiding his own fire. Still though, it doesn't take much before I beat him. And I'm finally able to save Daisy once and for all. And with that, Mario gets a peck on the nose, our quest ends, and Mario and Daisy jump into a plane able to bring them both to the Super Credits Land. So that's Super Mario Land, and I think that might have actually been my most enjoyable run of the game ever. I think I said this earlier, but I've only ever played this on the Virtual Console on the 3DS, and there I've always used save states to help me out. The thing is though, this game doesn't need save states. Sure, there are some tricky challenges here and there, but overall it's a great game, and I actually felt pretty accomplished at the end when I beat it this time without using save states. Honestly, if you do ever decide to play this game, which I do recommend because it is an important piece of gaming history, but if you do decide to play it, don't use save states like I did. Anyways, that's the gist of the video, but there are a few miscellaneous things I would like to add before closing off the video. The first thing I want to talk about is Mario's reason for doing any of this. I'm going to read off the instruction booklet from my copy on the 3DS Virtual Console, and then go over my thoughts on it. Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a peaceful world called Sarasaland. In this world, there were 4 kingdoms called Robuto, Muda, Easton, and Chai. One day, the skies of Sarasaland were suddenly covered by a huge black cloud. From a crack in the cloud, the unknown space monster Tatanga emerged to try and conquer Sarasaland. He hypnotized the people of all the kingdoms so that he could control them in any way he liked. In this way, he took over Sarasaland. Now, he is determined to marry Princess Daisy of Sarasaland and make her his queen. Mario came to know of these events and has started on a journey to the Chai Kingdom, where Princess Daisy is being held captive in order to restore peace to Sarasaland. Can Mario defeat Tatanga, release the people from interstellar hypnosis, and rescue Princess Daisy? It's all up to you and Mario's skill. Go for it, Mario. So yeah, that's the story. It's a bit basic, but it was a launch title for the Game Boy, so that's kind of to be expected. But man, they didn't even try. Mario just hears about this evil and goes to stop it? Well, I don't see Mario as someone who would say no to trying to help people like that, especially princesses. I still think it's a bit much, even for him. I think it would have been better if it went something like this. Princess Toadstool,
Peach,
upon hearing these dreadful deeds, requested Mario to help her dear friend in need. Mario, never one to turn down aid to those in need, accepted the princess's request and took off immediately towards Sarasaland in hopes of rescuing the captured Princess Daisy. So that's how I would have done it, but honestly it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's basically just a text blurb from a manual from a 1989 game, put in there to give the vaguest of reasons for Mario to have gone to Sarasaland. Anyways, the next point I want to talk about is actually another game.
Super Mario Odyssey!
That's right, I want to make mention of Super Mario Odyssey, and how this would have been the perfect place to reintegrate Sarasaland's 4 kingdoms of Boruto, Muda, Easton, and Chai. In fact, when the game was first shown off, I thought the Sand Kingdom was the kingdom of Robuto. I still think it should be. I mean, look at the Jaxies here. They totally give off Gal vibes. I mean, they're both Sphinx. Man, it would have been awesome if they put the 4 kingdoms into Mario Odyssey, but oh well. It's still a great game. So before we conclude, I want to bring it back to Super Mario Land and talk about one of the features that appear in it. I mentioned it before, but I think it was actually amazing that they were able to implement branching paths based on if Mario is big or not. I don't remember too much from the normal Mario games, But from what I can remember, most cases with branching paths have it so that you can only go the good path if you're Super Mario. This game kind of subverts that a little. Sure, some places you may need to be big to go to access it, but on the other hand, some places actually require you to be small in order for Mario to get to that route, which can sometimes net you all kinds of goodies. Overall, I think it was just an awesome addition that I don't remember being in the original NES game. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Super Mario Land. Like I said before, it is something I can easily recommend not only for its historical context, as being the first portable Mario, but also because it's just a good game. Though, don't play it using save states. But those are my thoughts on it, and I would love to hear yours. Do you think that Super Mario Land is a masterpiece? A stain on the good name of Mario? Somewhere in between? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you like the video, leave a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of my content, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, game on.